All right, we're diving deep today. We're going beyond Einstein to tackle a really wild idea. What if the present moment, the now you're experiencing, doesn't actually exist? The argument we're going to unpack is that your reality is just a constant, clever reconstruction of the past. Ready? Let's get into it. So let me ask you something right off the bat. Do you actually see this screen in the present moment? I mean, it sure feels like it, right? But the whole idea we're digging into today says nope, not a chance. You are always looking into the past.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll tackle the illusion of now. Then, we'll compare two different maps of reality. After that, we'll get into the geometry of how we see things, take a weirdly fascinating detour where physics meets psychoanalysis, and finally, we'll put it all together to see what it means to reconstruct the past.
So it all starts with one simple, completely undeniable fact of physics. Light is not instant. It has a speed limit. And you know what? That one little fact changes absolutely everything about how we think we see the universe.
Think about the sun. The light from it takes about 8 minutes to get here. So when you look up at it, and seriously, don't stare at the sun, you're not seeing the sun as it is now, you're seeing the sun as it was 8 minutes ago. If it just vanished, poof, we wouldn't know about it for a whole 8 minutes. And this information delay, it's not just for stars. It's for this screen. It's for your own hands. Every single photon hitting your eyeballs is a little messenger from the past.
Okay, so if every bit of information we get is from the past, how in the world do we map reality? Well, this leads to two totally different approaches. Einstein's model, which we're all familiar with, and a different model that puts this information delay right at the center of everything. And our source material has this fantastic analogy to help us get it. Einstein's physics is like an accountant sitting in a comfy head office, looking at their screen and assuming all that data is happening live, right now. But this other model says, whoa, hold on. A courier, a little particle of light, had to physically travel to bring you that information. And that trip takes time. And the biggest difference between them is what they think space is. For Einstein, you have that famous rubber sheet. It's a mathematical idea, it's relative, it gets warped by gravity. But in this other EMF model, space is a physical thing. It's a real medium, this absolute field, kind of like a giant cosmic ocean. And light speed is constant compared to that ocean, not compared to you.
So, what does this new map of reality mean for the simple act of seeing? Well, there's this really cool analogy from World War II that helps show what's actually going on every time you open your eyes. Just look at this. Imagine you're in that bomber. The light coming from directly below you travels, say, 1,000 units. So that information is 1,000 seconds old. But now look at the light coming from off to the side, at an angle. It has a longer way to go, right? About 1,410 units, so it's older information. But here's the kicker. Both of those photons, one from the recent past and one from the more distant past, hit your eye at the exact same instant. What you see isn't a single moment. It's a collage of different moments from the past, all arriving at once. And this is the really wild part. That flat plane of reality you think you're seeing, the room you're in right now, is an illusion. It's actually a patchwork quilt, a mosaic of information from different points in time, all stitched together by your brain to create this feeling of now. Okay, this idea of a stitched-together reality has some pretty huge consequences for what it means to be an observer in physics. And this is where our source material takes a very unexpected turn, connecting physics to, of all things, psychoanalysis. It sounds strange, I know, but stick with me. It's a powerful way to look at it.
So the idea here comes from a guy named Jacques Lacan, and it's called the mirror stage. You know that moment when a baby sees itself in the mirror for the first time? It sees this whole, complete, coordinated little person and thinks, hey, that's me. It falls in love with this perfect image, completely ignoring the fact that its actual experience is clumsy, fragmented, and not at all unified.
And here's the argument. Einstein's observer is basically stuck in a scientific mirror stage. They see their own measurements, their own coordinate system, and they think it's a true, perfect reflection of the whole universe. It's this self-centered view. The EMF model, on the other hand, says you have to grow up. You have to accept the rules of the system, the law, which is the unavoidable delay of light. You're not the center of it all. You're just one receiver moving through a much bigger system.
So, if everything we see is just a delayed mosaic of the past, what's a physicist even supposed to do? How can we possibly know what's happening right now? Well, the simple answer is we can't. But what we can do is reconstruct what already happened.
This is the big shift. The goal of physics, according to this model, shouldn't be to take a picture of the present, because that's impossible. The job of physics should be to act like a detective. We take the clues, the time a signal arrived, the direction it came from, and we use that to do information geometry. We work backwards to build a map of where and when things actually happened out there in that big cosmic ocean.
Now, to see how these ideas hold up, the source material did something pretty unconventional. It fed both models, Einstein's and the EMF model, to a bunch of different AIs and asked them to act as logical referees. Which one is more consistent with the physical fact of signal delay? And the results, as you can see, were pretty lopsided. The AIs overwhelmingly found that the EMF model, the one based on reconstructing the past, was a more coherent way to describe reality.
Which brings us to this final question. We've gone on this whole journey and seen that our perception isn't a live feed of reality. It's a reconstruction, a beautiful mosaic built from old, delayed data. So, if that's true, is the present moment we all feel so vividly nothing more than a useful and maybe even beautiful illusion? Something to chew on.